Hello, welcome back. This is Miniature Mike, and per most popular request, I decided to make an Imperial Troopers video, kind of investigating what troopers and army does the Empire have to offer, and what are all the different options. So you'll see when I go through this, instead of going through it chronologically, kind of break it and organize it into different groups because there's a lot of different kind of themes with troopers. So I wanted to break it out that way, and there's so many to go through. So I don't know how long this video is going to be. Maybe not too long because these aren't like, complicated, unique characters that have a lot going on. Some of them are a little bit cheaper. However, I'm not going to go too in depth in terms of all the combinations they can have, but just try to talk about the characters as they are and kind of see how they stack up. So let's jump into the first one, the good old classic Stormtrooper, as you can see. So cost 5, 10 HP, 16 defense, 4, and then 10 respectively. So the thing that's so great about these guys is that they're so cheap and they're hard to hit. They have 16 base defense. Put them in cover, that's 20. They may not be able to hit themselves very well, but that's something you can modify nicely through commander effects. So I love these guys, how cheap they are, how easy they are to stay alive, and I think the community at large absolutely agrees. So overall, I say these guys are really good. Hit points, standard for a 5. Their range survivability for costing 5 is fantastic. Their melee survivability is, of course, nothing to write home about. Attack's fine. Max damage is fine. The versatility is good because you can mix these things with a lot. Again, they're kind of an open canvas, and because they have good stuff to work with, I like what you can do with them. The Imperial score, I gave them a really high awesome just because they're awesome fodder for the Empire. They work well in so many squads. They can benefit from so many commander effects and work in a lot of different fun ways. So definitely a big fan. Blue Milk, I know 4.5 is much higher than Blue Milk. I'm just saying for troopers, I want to give these guys a really good score because of kind of what they do and what they represent. And for Blue Milk, 4.4, 7.45 is one of the best scores for like grunt type characters, and so absolutely. So anyway, very cheap to pick up. There's probably like 10 different sculpts of these things by now. I don't know which one's my favorite, but when I do the tier list video for sculpts, I'll probably kind of figure that out. So overall, very nice fodder. A lot you can do with them. So next is the Elite Stormtrooper. So these are 11, 20, 16, 8, and 20. You're getting 10 more HP, 10 more damage, and 4 more attack, all for 6 more costs. I don't think that's worth it. These aren't terrible. They really aren't terrible. I mean, if you compare their cost and their stats to, say, like an Elite Clone Trooper, these guys actually stack up better, in my opinion, than an Elite Clone Trooper for the same cost. But at the same time, you're kind of losing what makes a Stormtrooper awesome. They're so cheap, they have high defense, now they cost a lot, and they do hit harder. I don't really care about the 20 HP because it's still going to be a one-shot KO anyway, but they do have nice stats. Like there's good defense, it's good attack. So overall, I think they're good. They're just a fine trooper if you want to mix them in for some reason. I don't know if I make too many squads with these at all, but they're fine. Their HP's fine. Their range survivability is still solid for being an 11, having nice defense, but it's not like too crazy. I felt like rewarding the defense, the high defense on the Stormtroopers a lot, even if maybe it's not too warranted. But they do have great attack, costing 11 and having 8 attack, very good. Max damage is solid. Versatility is just fine. The Imperial score, I just figured I'd give them a 3. Like they're good. They're just a good option if you want someone that has good stats. You can kind of play around with them. The only problem with them though is at the time they're okay, but they're kind of largely overtaken by the 501st Imperial Stormtroopers because those are the same stats, the same cost, and they have a bunch of powers that are just better objectively. So for the time though, I think these things were fine. Like they're kind of scary. Mix a couple of them in, maybe have a lot of Stormtroopers. These guys can do the damage. So not bad. Blue Milk gives them a very average score, which I probably agree with. So next, let's go to the Stormtrooper on Repulsor Sled, one that I recently just barely collected for the first time. And it was really, really interesting when I looked at these, because in theory, they look crazy. Like, really good. But if you look at Blue Milk hates them, and I was like, what the heck is going on here? So I'll get that in a second. They're really cheap, only cost 14. Awesome stats, so 20 HP, 18 defense, 5 attack, and 20 damage. They have flight, mobile attack, and speed 12. So these guys can just zip around, hit and run, hit and shoot. And then they got net gun, which can be really nice, kind of utility, especially if you mix this with some other team or some other kind of squad. Then you can run in, potentially activate people, run out, and then your team can do things. Maybe like leverage Opportunist with Thrawn or something like that. That could be really good. Like he could be good on a Thrawn squad if he's activating people for others, to shoot them up. So in theory, like I know they're a large base, which is it's always a distractor usually, but I think this is really good. Like I don't know, like what I don't get it. So I'm doing a lot of research on Blue Milk. I was just trying to read the scores, and it seemed pretty. The common thread was people were like, "This is dumb. Why is this guy a very rare? Like he shouldn't be a very rare. That's kind of a waste." And so to me, reading through a lot of the responses, it kind of gave the impression that a lot of people just kind of hate criticized it because they didn't like that this type of machine or this type of mini, which was seemed like it should have been like a maybe uncommon, was very rare, which I think is still odd, but whatever. Like these guys, I don't know, maybe they're terrible, but like this looks fantastic. They got great defense. You're not gonna hit them. I love the hit and run. Net gun can be nice in some situations. It's just like I think they're great. I think they're really good. The HP's bad for 14. It could be better, but they have awesome range survivability, great defense, hit and run. The melee survivability is nice because they can be so fast at flight. The attack is fine. The max damage is pretty just meh for 14. It's just whatever. Again, these are Stormtroopers, so you can buff them a lot. I think the special abilities are fantastic. The way they synergize is fantastic. And again, they're really versatile. So it's just like, what's wrong with these? Why are these a 6.67? I don't know. Like, there was a lot of comments as well on Blue Milk towards the end where people were like, what's wrong? Like, why does this guy have such a bad score? Like, these things are awesome. Like people had reported instances where they used them in tournaments and they were really successful and useful. So whatever. They're about $20. I definitely think that they're underrated. I'd love to craft a squad where I can maybe leverage these guys' ability. That could be really fun, but nice utility. Nice just kind of utility support vehicle. Hit and run. I like net gun with like maybe Thrawn, so you can activate people and make opportunists terrifying, but anyway. Let's move on. So 501st Legion Stormtrooper. I should have put this with the Elite Stormtrooper. Basically the same. I'm not going to go over too much of these things right here, but a lot of the same stats, but they have the abilities just kind of send them over the edge. I know I've talked to some people who aren't huge on squad powers, and I get it for a good reason. I would prefer if a squad power was maybe like one or two allies instead of 3 allies, so that you just don't lose it so quick. Because you really need a lot of to not lose it, which is kind of scary. But when you do have that, you have the 12 attack, you have 30 damage, all for an 11 cost. Like, that's really good. So overall, definitely like bumped up the special abilities and the synergy for sure on these. And then they can be just cheaper. They can cost 10 if you mix them with a good Vader. And a good Vader that could probably give these guys, like Imperial Commander, give them the 22 defense, and then 26 in cover. And these could be really nice because like squad power would work great with that much defense because they're not going to die as easy, and they'll be able to kind of make the most of it, which could be really good. So overall, Blue Milk gave these guys a high score, and yeah, for the value, you're really getting a lot. And like I've mentioned before, Elite Stormtrooper, solid for the time, but I think these guys completely just kind of blast them out, like totally blast them out of the park. So unfortunately for them, these guys replace them, but they're a really good one too. You can even mix these things with the Anakin Skywalker in the same set, and they'll give them Cunning Attack, I believe, or Jedi. No, pretty sure it's Cunning Attack. So these guys can be scary if you mix them with the right person. Really, really good, and they only cost like $5, so another cheap one. So Stormtrooper Officer, the classic Rebel Storm. I think there's a couple different reprints of this. I think there's 3 of them total. In my opinion, they're not bad. They're not great. They're not bad. They cost 14, 30 HP, 18 defense, 8 attack, 10 damage. That's really good stuff. Like great attack, great defense on someone who costs 14. Double attack is always nice. And the commander effect's kind of vanilla. Trooper followers basically get like a weaker careful shot essentially, plus 3 attack if they don't move. I think in a way that it is a nice commander effect because like vanilla Stormtroopers, they tend to not have like the cheaper troopers don't have good attack, so it can kind of help something out that maybe they're not already very good with. But at the same time, some of the better troopers looking at like 8 attacks can make them even better. In general, I don't know if I'd really ever mix these guys in with the squad. Maybe if I just was really wanting to. But like I mentioned, not bad, not great. Like the HP's fine. 30's not bad. The survivability is solid. 18 defense on a 14-point piece. Really good, especially in cover. It's even better. It's just really funny how Stormtroopers have such high defense and they're hard to hit. And you watch any TV show or movie, and Stormtroopers are getting just mowed down, easily shot. That bright white armor. But their attack's great. Their max damage is fine with double attack. The special ability, double attack's fine, good enough for on a 14. The ability synergy is really good. Versatility, I think these guys are decently versatile. Like, just kind of blanket, give all your troops, plus 3 attack if they don't move. I think this can be pretty solid on characters that you don't want to have them move. Like, you feel confident they're not going to get hit. That's why I think if you give them to a Stormtrooper that's buffed out with defense upgrades, which is very common on this team, then having that extra attack might be okay because I'm not worried about them getting picked off if they have to stop and shoot. I don't know. Like I said, and Blue Milk's pretty much on point with that, I think. They're 6.5, and overall, like, I think they're solid. Like, they're not good, they're not bad, they're just kind of in the middle, and they're just a decent help for Stormtroopers. Stormtrooper Commander, though, in my opinion, is about the same, a little different, maybe a little worse in some ways. So they cost 1 more, but he has 10 more HP, and he has a different commander effect. So I'm not going to go over too many of these details because they're very much the same as the officer. But the commander effect in this case is basically at the end of his turn, he can choose one person who's a non-unique follower that's adjacent to him, and that person gets just plus 10 damage until the end of this character's next turn or until this character's defeated. So basically he could like give it to someone, they attack, next round they attack, and then he goes and gives it to somebody else, and then they go. So you can be kind of strategic about how to use it. I don't know if I love the commander effect, though. It's just 10 damage to one person, which is fine. But if you could be kind of strategic and kind of like give it to various people in different orders. But I don't know. I just like the blanket commander effects. We're just kind of giving an aura effect out, and people just benefit from it. But if you play it right, you can give 10 damage to somebody who could use it, and it's not bad. So overall, not going to go with the same thing. This guy does have a much better Blue Milk score than the other guy. I think it is nice to have the extra 10 HP for sure, but I think they're just kind of similar to the Officer. The Officer's a little bit cheaper, but has more broadly reaching commander effect, whereas this guy, a very specific tactical commander effect, and either way, they're both fine. So the Felucian Stormtrooper Officer, very powerful. So 16, goes back to having the Stormtrooper Officer, just the whole getup. 30, 18, 8, 10. It's all the same. Is it? Yeah, 18, 8 is pretty similar. That's really good stats in double attack. But his commander effect is wicked. So trooper followers within 6 squares gain advantageous cover. So this is where things get out of control. You have something like this. You have Imperial Commander Vader. And then your Stormtroopers have like 30 defense and nobody can hit them. It's ridiculous. And so, overall, I think everyone knows that this is just one of the most just wild just trooper commanders in the game, in my opinion. It's so good. It affects so many characters in the entire Empire, which is just so much fun. And the fun part, too, is if you did some sort of squad where you potentially brought in some Republic people via... there's a couple ways of doing that, with, like, Palpatine Sith Lord. You could give some interesting clones that are troopers. You could give them advantageous cover, which could be kind of fun. So there's that to kind of tinker around with as well. But overall, I think these things are great. They have the same like kind of stats, survivability stuff as the previous commanders, but I think they're much more versatile because it's just a nice commander effect overall. Just much better effect in my opinion. Just kind of makes something that was already good way too good. Commander effect is amazing. For Imperial score, I gave him a 5. One of the couple people I gave a 5. I just find this guy to be such a good cornerstone of kind of some Imperial squads, for sure. And then Blue Milk almost gives him an 8. Maybe not as high as I would have thought. Maybe I'm just overrating advantageous cover for the Empire, but I think it's great. I've always had a fun time with it. Okay, so Heavy Stormtrooper, moving into the heavies. Like you've seen in any video, typically characters with heavy weapons just stink. So this guy overall, he's a 12, a 20, 16, 6, and 30. So it does the 30 damage, that's nice. Has a solid defense, which is good. The heavy clone troopers, they cost the same but don't have this defense. They typically have a little more attack though. But at the same time, it's like, he's still stuck with heavy weapon. Maybe I could see this guy with Thrawn being okay, where you can kind of pop him in and out of positions. You can swap, shoot, maybe for opportunist or something, and be kind of effective that way. But I don't love it. I really don't love it. Like most of his stats, like the HP, the survivability, it's all just kind of bleh. Um, like the fact that he does have the nice defense, but the fact that he has to wait and shoot hurts him a lot. The attack and damage is good, but other than that, it's just poor all across the board. Blue Milk doesn't like these. I'm not a fan of heavy troopers. Although it would be interesting to put them in a squad with Thrawn. There's just better things you can do with Thrawn, probably. So that's kind of where I sit with these guys. The real heavy troopers are the shock troopers, which these guys, in case you're wondering, are definitely completely inspired by the Star Wars Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2 shock troopers. They look the same, and they kind of have the same sort of vibe going about them. So these are 13. They're 20, 16, 6, and 10. So they could survive a 10 damage shot potentially, but they probably won't. They'll probably get hit by a 20 damage guy. They can shoot if they want to, I suppose, in some circumstances. But then the cool thing is they have squad cover and missiles. So if you mix a bunch of these guys together, they don't have to be in cover. They just get more defense. And then you can mix them with like the Felucian Stormtrooper guy to give them up to like maybe 28 defense. And then with Vader to give them up to 32 defense. So these guys are kind of just defensive monsters. And you just kind of sit back and just launch missiles. Just look at someone and say, hey, 50-50 shot, do the damage to you. And I just think that's just hilarious. So, Blue Milk would agree. They gave them an 8.2. And I think these guys are just wild. Just totally wild. So overall, I think they're great. The HP is just kind of meh. The range survivability, awesome. Melee, not so much. The attack is good. For a 13, it's fine. Actually, I think I overrated the attack. I think 6 is... No, 6 is normal for a 13. It's fine. I think I might have made a mistake there, though. But the special abilities, great. Synergy, great. Versatility, they're pretty solid. I don't think they're the most versatile because they really just kind of sit back and shoot missiles. But the nice thing about missiles is that it makes targeting and just shooting people much easier. You don't have to worry about bad odds. You can just kind of go 50-50, blow people up potentially, and 30 damage is good. So I think these guys are a ton of fun. Just a fantastic, classic heavy trooper that I definitely roll with. So what do we got next? Now we're moving to the Snowtroopers. So let's see, with the Snowtroopers, we're looking at 20, 16, 4, and 10, and it costs 7. So basically, it's a Stormtrooper, 10 more HP, and it costs 2 more. I don't like that trade-off personally. I prefer the Sandtrooper trade-off where they get the 10 damage instead, so they can kind of hit harder. I don't like having 20 HP because I feel like most of the time you just get hit once anyway and you're dead. Not that helpful, in my opinion. I prefer just go with the Stormtrooper who's already going to die anyway, but have a cheaper cost. But they're not bad. They're fine. Their HP for a 7, it's having 20 HP is good for a 7. The range survivability, again, is nice. For being this cheap and having 16 defense, very good. Attack's fine. All these kinds of things are just fine. So everything else when it comes to like the versatility, they're just kind of blank slates that you can kind of do stuff with. Like I've said before, if I'm going to have 10 damage and be this cheap, I'd rather just have a Stormtrooper. So that's kind of where I sit. And overall, Blue Milks kind of thinks they're somewhat mediocre as well. Not my favorite. But moving on to the Elite version, I think these guys definitely bring a lot more to the table. They cost 12, which is 5 more, but they have 30 HP, so they could survive probably 2 hits. Great defense. The attack is fine. That's actually kind of holds them back a little bit compared to maybe the Elite Stormtroopers that got the 8 attack. But still, you can work with it. I do like these guys' kind of chunkiness a little bit for what they cost. So overall, I'd say overall they're really good. They are good. The HP's good. Survivability is fall solid, especially with the 17 bumping that up, and they still cost relatively cheap. Their attack is solid. 6 is not bad at that level. The damage is good. The versatility is fine. The Imperial score, I think, is also just kind of fine. And granted, we'll see this in a second with the Snowtrooper. Both Snowtroopers kind of lack attack, but that gets corrected with the Snowtrooper Commander. So Snowtrooper Commander, I'll just dive into it. He gives, followers within 6 squares who are Snowtrooper, they get 4 attack, and they gain SWAT assault. So basically, he just really helps that out a lot. So when you go back to someone like this, the Elite Snowtrooper, they'll get, just by default, 10 attack. That's really good. Like, you could hit some stuff with that, and that could be really nice. I don't really care for these guys getting 8 attack. I guess it's fine. I still am just kind of bugged about the 20 HP. I'd prefer to just have something else. But then you can also give them 4 more attack with squad assaults. They could go up to 14 attack. So you could give these guys a lot of defense, you know, with those defense squads, and they can sit back and actually can shoot really well, which is kind of good. So that's kind of all they do. They only cost 14 and have great stats. So great stats overall. They can kind of hold their own. So overall, I think this is a solid commander. So I think they're really good. HP's good. Again, survivability, it's the same kind of theme you'll see here with like that high defense going on. Good attack. The versatility is fine. Commander effect, I think, is good commander effect. It's very specific, but I think running these guys with elite Snowtroopers, not regular, but elite Snowtroopers, can make them really, really formidable troopers for sure. Or really solid troopers, at least. And overall, Blue Milk kind of feels the same way. I think they're really good. A cheap, really nice commander that can really kind of buff up somebody that was missing it. And then I kind of skipped it. Let's go back and take a look at the Snowtrooper with E-Web. So these guys, basically a meme. They cost 18, they got 60 HP, they got a whopping 11 defense, 4 attack, and 30 damage. Double attack, heavy, and speed 2, so these things are not mobile, they don't move, they don't go well, but they do have double attack, so the damage potential is great. Great for these things. But there's a lot of asterisks, so overall, I think they're poor. They're not like totally helpless. I mean, I don't know, maybe if you do some sort of swap squad with Thrawn where you have like another large character and you can swap this guy into place and you give him, you know, opportunist and some other stuff to kind of buff up that attack. That could be really scary. It could be kind of fun if you could pull something like that off, but overall, they do have good HP, so at least they have something that can give them a little bit of runtime. But the survivability is atrocious. They can't get out of there. They can't get away. They'll get hit by everything. Their attack is really lousy for an 18, but their max damage is great. So if you can find a way to make both shots hit, you're doing a lot of damage. So special abilities, though, kind of meh. You have 2 negatives, 1 positive. Kind of tugs it down overall. Not good versatility. Not good for Imperial stuff. Like I mentioned, if you construct your squad specifically around these guys, maybe find a way. They do require a lot to kind of help fix them and make them work. But like I said, I think the Thrawn thing could be kind of fun. So I'll leave it at with these. There's 2 prints of them. There's the original from Champions of the Force, and then there's the one in Battle of Hoth set. I think I recently just got both of them. And then there's also a square-based one that's a promotional, which is interesting as well. So kind of a meme. They could be kind of fun maybe for some sort of scenario builder, but not that great practically. So finally, let's go on to the Sandtroopers. So in my opinion, I think these are better than the Snowtroopers, personally, because I just prefer, like if you look at this, like how they compare to like say a clone trooper, they cost a little less than a clone trooper. They have 3 better defense, but 2 less attack, and I think that's a total fine trade-off. Like, so I think these guys are kind of a decent trooper, like, you know, 8, you're getting a solid defense, you're at least able to dish some damage, which is nice. So overall, I think that they're fine. Like, they're a good, like, I don't love them as much as the Stormtrooper, because the Stormtrooper just has cost you can't beat. But overall, I like being able to do that damage, so I think they're good. The HP's fair, nice survivability for how cheap they are. In terms of, like, it's a little harder for them to take that shot than other people, maybe. The attack, fine. I do like having that 20 damage on an 8. That is good. Versatility is fine, and the Imperial score, I think, is just gave him an average 3. So I think that kind of sounds about right for him. They're a decent trooper. Don't think I'd use them in very many circumstances, honestly, but if you want an alternate, like an alternate to a Stormtrooper that can do a little bit more, like punch, these guys could possibly do it for you. Let's move on to the Sandtrooper on Dewback. These guys are pretty cool. They're kind of hard to collect, as you can see, like kind of average around $30 on eBay. I do have one of these, which was fun to collect. And I have seen some people out there trying to put some interesting, fascinating squads together with these guys, which you totally can do. In general, though, I think they're kind of pretty lackluster. But like with any squad, you could probably put something together and make them fun. So with these guys, they only cost 15. They got 60 HP, 17 defense, 4 attack, and 10 damage, and they get momentum. So they're kind of tanks. Like, they got great defense, lots of HP, but they just don't do the damage. Like, if you rush someone and hit them and only do 20 damage, it's... I don't know, I feel like if these guys had 20 damage, they'd be a lot more exciting. And then they could do 30 if they charge, but unfortunately for them, it's just kind of I feel like they got a lot of... They can take a lot, but they can't give a lot. So overall, I think they're fair. I don't think they're as terrible, maybe as Blue Milk says they are, but still, that's not a good score either. It's not a great score. I think their HP's nice, their survivability's nice. Yes, they are a medium base, or large base, I should say, which isn't ideal. But like I said, so that survivability's not great. Their damage output and attack isn't awesome. I'm giving them a 2, a little bit of benefit of the doubt, so if they can use momentum, it's helpful, but overall, it's kind of lame. Versatility's fine, and their Imperial score, I gave them a 2.5, so I do like kind of the flavor of them. They're really cool sculpts, but at the end of the day, they're just kind of held back a little bit, so I'll leave it there. Yeah, just kind of tanky and hardy, but they can't hit hard, so but they could be fun to play around with. So definitely comment if you've seen some fun squads with dewbacks. I'd love to hear about them. So finally, we get to the Sandtrooper officer. In my opinion, I think this is inferior to the other officer. So the things you have to keep in mind here: this guy has 20 cost, but he's got 10 more HP. He's got 10 more damage. So this guy can hit hard, and he can kind of stay around for a moment. But I don't love the commander effect. So he gives Deadeye. So he basically turns, in a way, Sandtroopers kind of sort of into like, you know, semi-heavy troopers, where if they don't move, they get a little more attack, a little more damage. That's fine. I mean, they don't have great attack anyway. And then, excuse me, I gotta yawn. Whew. They give him Squad Assault. So giving Squad Assault to a bunch of cheap people isn't too bad. But I don't know, for some reason, I like the idea of just giving, like the Snowtrooper officer's just cheaper, and he gives a specific unit a lot of attack and makes them really accurate. And I've actually seen squads where people have used that, and it's been really helpful. Whereas with this one, I just don't exactly envision Sandtroopers, potentially kind of getting the same kind of effect. This doesn't really help the dewback very much, because he doesn't have, Deadeye and momentum, or kind of they don't work together, unfortunately. So there's that. But overall, I think they're still good, because they have wicked stats. But I'm just not a crazy fan of the commander effect. I don't think it's bad. Being able to have Sandtroopers where you can jack up the defense, of course, and they do 30 damage is good. For some reason, it doesn't make me quite as excited as the cheaper Snowtrooper commander. But it is what it is. They're fine. Scout Trooper, definitely it's good that these guys exist, though, because he had the Snowtrooper and he had the Sandtrooper, which I don't think they were all that great before anyways, and these guys just help him out a lot. Alright, so Scout Trooper time. And as a note, I'm not going to do the speeder. I think it'd be better just to do a separate video kind of covering all the strafe attack guys, so I'll do that some other time. So Scout Trooper here, he's 8, and you're looking at 20, 15, 5, and 10, so those are kind of like Raxus Prime defense and attack values. And then the special ability Stealth, so kind of fun that this guy has that. He's cheap, one of the cheaper characters to have Stealth. That's a shooter as well, but he doesn't hit much, so maybe he could be a good guy put in Stealth. Maybe he can combine fire. Maybe you can give him like Opportunist and some other abilities so he can do more. But that's kind of the way I see Scout Troopers, is like for an 8, that is nice to have Stealth, but like kind of what are you gonna do with it, I guess. So overall, I think they're good still. Not great, just fine. The HP's fine. They do got that good survivability for how cheap they are with the range guys. Their attack is fine. The damage is just kind of whatever. Special abilities, so all this is just so average. Just average, and then a Blue Milk score of 6.79. The community kind of feels pretty average about them, just like I do. So when it comes to Stealth Troopers, they're not my favorite. I guess if you want to mix them in, maybe combine fire, I suppose, or buff them up with a bunch of commander effects, that could be okay, but not my cup of tea. Alright, we get to the Dark Trooper set. So we've got 4 Dark Troopers to get through, so let's get through these. I'm going to go quickly through this one. Let's see, the Dark Trooper Phase 1 stinks a lot. These things are terrible. So they cost 12. They're droid and melee attack. Droid is not good on this team. Nobody can help a droid out, unfortunately, so they just kind of stink. They're 30, 16, 10, and 20. The redeeming thing is they have really nice attack. So if they do get up to you and attack you, they probably will hit you, which is good, but then they'll die very quickly. So overall, I think they're just poor, just really poor. The HP's kind of meh. The range survivability is not so good because they're a larger base and they have to run up to you. Their attack is great, so they can kind of do a damage to you if they get to you, but that's it. They're done. Like the Imperial score, I don't think they're very good. Don't think they're very versatile either. And they're just kind of like some sort of wacky melee trooper. So not a fan of these guys at all. Maybe if you can find a way to bring them into like a droid squad, like immediate droid reserves, maybe you can do some more fun things there. But not the way this is all currently constructed. So moving on to Dark Trooper Phase 2. Still a droid. They cost more, but I think these guys are much more usable and more interesting. They got good stats, got 30 damage, they can fly. Definitely much more utility in these guys than the other ones for sure. So I think these guys are good overall, very solid. I think that their HP is really good. The survivability in general is solid because they can fly around and kind of get out of harm's way. I think that the attack's fine. The max damage is good. Special abilities are fine. So again, I just kind of feel, for a guy who costs 20, this is all solid stuff. Max damage being really good is really just kind of due to 30 damage. But the problem again with these guys is there's not a good way in the Empire to really help droids out. So you get what you get, and that's what you roll with. So overall, I think they look cool. They just look really like these giant menacing droid stormtroopers. But they're fine. So Blue Milk kind of agrees. They're just pretty okay, I guess. But they're kind of a fun jet trooper. Nice stats, can do some damage, and kind of leave it at that. The final one is the Dark Trooper Phase 3 for these ones. We're looking at 80 HP, 17, 10, 20. So these are like monster stats. Really nice stats overall. And they get missiles 20. So I think this is the first character in the game with missiles. I could be mistaken. Please correct me. But I'm pretty sure these are the first missiles in the game. Which at the time was really exciting for sure. Because it's like, I remember when I was first playing this game. And I think the newest pack at the time was Champions of the Force. So this was like one of the few guys that could launch missiles, and it was really fun. So, of course, later on, it's kind of got brushed aside and maybe not as good anymore, but still really cool. A really fun, menacing-looking, just kind of mini in general, just giant. And if you can find a way to maybe put it on a droid squad, you can do more too. But anyway, so I think they're good. I think these are good. They got nice HP. The survivability is, I didn't really give them too much because they do cost a lot now. They have the large base, and they only have just kind of decent defense going for them now. They're not cheap with high defense. Now they're expensive with high defense, and that's it. So the survivability is kind of okay. It's not really there, but they're kind of chunky. The attack is great. So 10 attack on a 25, that's looking good. So if you choose to not use a missiles 20 for a couple reasons, of course, like proximity, you'll be able to do some damage anyways. So the max damage I think is solid, just because it's 20 damage, but maybe more depending on how you leverage these two powers. It looks good. Special ability is, did I really say poor? Did I make a mistake? I don't think I should have said poor for that. No, I think it's fine. I just give them like a fine score for this. I think they're decently versatile. I think their Imperial score, I give them a 3.5. And Blue Milk gave them an even 7. So overall, they're just kind of a missile barrager. Just a nice missile platform overall. Again, they don't really get benefits from any Imperial people either because they are droids. But they're kind of fun. And at the time, it was fun to have this is someone who just kind of launched missiles at you. It was really scary. So definitely a fun kind of aspect there. Okay, last but not least, with the Dark Troopers, we're looking at the Dark Trooper, the one inspired from Star Wars Battlefront 2, clearly. And these guys are one of the few ones in the entire game who have heavy weapon, and it kind of is okay. You can get around it. So these guys are 14 cost. They got the traditional elite Stormtrooper stats of 20, 16, 8, and 20. Nice stats. They got flights, they can get around, heavy weapon, but then they have splash 20. So holy crap! So you shoot someone, and if you miss, they still have to roll the save, and everyone around them has to roll the save for 20 damage anyways. So that's just so good. So overall, if I'm going to have a guy with heavy weapon, I want to be able to really, really kind of make it count. And I think these guys have the mobility to make it count. And then if you use Thrawn, of course, to kind of have them enter and exit places, they could get some nice shots off for sure. So overall, poor. The HP at this point could be better. The survivability, though, is pretty nice. I think I kind of was a little inconsistent here. Since he has flight, I should have bumped it up a little bit more, but because he has heavy weapon, you have to keep in mind he does technically have to set up before he shoots, which could hurt his survivability. The attack's great, max damage is great with that splash damage. I like the special abilities. Even though he has heavy weapon, I think splash 20 in flight kind of average in the positive column for him. The versatility is fine. The Imperial score, I gave him a 3.5, and then these guys are 7.14 Jet Trooper, which are about $10 each on eBay. So overall, like, if you use these guys with the right squad, Splash 20 really makes this guy count. I could see him working in like a Thrawn swapping squad, maybe some other squad too that could be really fun. Maybe if you give these guys a lot of defense, they give these guys a ton of defense so they get set up with heavy weapon. You don't have to worry about dying as easily either. So I do like that. Do like that quite a lot. So anyway, Dark Troopers, one of the few heavy troopers that I think bring a lot to the table for themselves. Let's move on. What do we got next here? Okay, so now we're going to start doing some of the more just kind of random troopers that are kind of thrown in there. We got the Imperial Navy Trooper. These guys are terrible. Never use them. You have better options. It's basically like a Rebel Trooper with synchronized fire. Woohoo. You get one more cost. So I think they're pretty much unusable because, sure, synchronized fire, you get a couple more attacks. So it's like you're looking at a guy who does 10 damage and maybe can get a good chance of doing 10 damage or giving it. I just hate this so much. I just hate this so much. Not a fan of these guys. As you can see, I gave them, they're on a 1.95. That's bad. It's really bad. If you look at them for their cost, though, their stats are pretty average for their cost. Special abilities kind of meh, but because they're in the Empire, there's so much more you can do with someone who's a little cheaper, like a Stormtrooper, or just use one of the other troopers in general. So, not a fan of these guys, and definitely not a fan of the Star Destroyer Officer. He costs 12, crummy stats, and then his command effect only affects the Imperial Navy Trooper by giving him double attack. That's awful. So, oh my gosh, like, stay away. Stay away from this guy. Don't use him at all. So across the board, just really lousy, just kind of stats and survivability. No abilities to speak of. Not versatile at all. He works with one guy, and works with a crappy guy too. So these guys are just a joke. I think the Star Destroyer Officer is just an absolute joke. So avoid. Don't buy these things. Don't use these things. Maybe challenge yourself and make a squad of these things and see what you can do, but don't even go there. Death Star Trooper, in my opinion, even though on Blue Milk they technically have a better score, it's funny, I forgot to bold this font here. Even though they technically have a better score than the Imperial Navy Trooper, I don't think they're better, because the Imperial Navy Trooper, you're missing one defense, but you have synchronized fire. They both stink a lot. I think I'd probably just prefer the Imperial Navy Trooper over the Death Star Trooper personally. Maybe, but at the end of the day, I kind of think of the Death Star Trooper as analogous to the other one, the Navy Trooper. They both stink, so just forget about them. The Evo Trooper, pretty fun because of Deceptive. So they have the same stats, not quite, but about as the Elite Snowtrooper. You're looking at 13, but they have 30, 16, 7, and 20. And they have Deceptive plus 10, so it's basically like Opportunist, but without the attack. Which I could see that being fun, because if you mix these with someone like Thrawn, where he can have Opportunist and Deceptive, he could be a guy with 11 attack, 40 damage in a shot, which is really cool. So I definitely that's a nice mixing with Thrawn right there. So overall, I think they're pretty good. I think the HP is solid, survivability is solid for being a 13-6. Attack, damage, all good. All this is good. I think the synergy, I think having extra damage on having decent attack is solid. And they're decently versatile. I just kind of give them an average rating because, they're just kind of a trooper that you can kind of build around and mend around. And overall, I think they're solid. I think the reason they have a good score is because I think Deceptive can be nice. You can kind of build upon it pretty easily, and this guy can be kind of a more high damaging character. Let's move on to the Raxus Prime Trooper, shall we? So almost through all of these. I think there's just a couple more left. But for the Raxus Prime Trooper, I just kind of see it as like a Stormtrooper replacement that has more mobility. This guy's got Wall Climber, but he trades defense and attack. So instead of having 16-4, he goes 15-5. And I don't think it's a crazy trade-off at all. Like, one less defense for more attack, whatever. I don't know. I don't really care all that much. On my calculations, for some reason, they came out a lot lower. It's probably just because of some bias I threw in. I think they're solid. For being a 5, they got, just standard hit points, great survivability, nice mobility. Their attack is just standard, very versatile because they are a cheap canvas, but they have a lot more mobility now, which is nice. I gave them a 4 for Imperial score. Probably should just give them like a 5 or something. And these guys are 7.47, so if you want like a fodder piece and you maybe don't want to use the Stormtrooper, I think this is a nice replacement because they pretty much have the same stats, but they have nice mobility for a 5. So Raxus Prime Trooper, definitely a solid one for sure. All right, Shadow Stormtrooper. So we are almost to the end of this. These are some of the stealth and commando characters here. I think these things are pretty nice, and especially, they came on the same squad as Mothnina Calixt. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Not going to try. But when they get super stealth, they're just kind of these people you can just kind of set them up in cover. They can get a lot of attack, and they just kind of like almost snipe you down, kind of pinpoint shoot you. Maybe I wish they had like sniper as well or something. I don't know. They kind of remind me of the Legends versions of Death Troopers, pretty much. That's kind of what they look like to me. But they have the same stats as the Elite Stormtrooper. Again, we've seen these stats before 100 times. Got 20 HP, 16 defense, 8 attack, 20 damage. You're looking at Careful Shot +4 and Stealth. Nice combinations of powers, and they cost 13, so maybe a little pricey. Maybe... No, I think that's fair, because the Elite Stormtroopers cost 11, and I think adding Stealth and Careful Shot is fine. I do take that to 11. So overall, I think they're really good. I think the HP could be better, but Stealth kind of helps out with that. Nice survivability for range. Not good for the melee. Great attack. Just have them chill and do 12 attack for 13. That's really good. The max damage is good. The special abilities, I think, really nice as well. You're looking at just 2 of them. These guys just kind of set up as like a nice little sniper and cover. So that's kind of really what they are. I can imagine you can do a lot of other fun things with these guys. Maybe give them Opportunist or something with Ron, of course. And then definitely give them Super Stealth. So I'd run these guys with Super Stealth. I don't know if I'd really use them without Super Stealth, but you totally could. And Blue Milk, give them a 7.34. I thought that they'd be better than that personally on Blue Milk, but I still think they're a fine trooper overall. Okay, so the final one is everyone's favorite Storm Commando. So these guys are pretty legendary in the community. They're expensive. They have a ridiculously high Blue Milk score, and for good reason. But what we're looking at the Storm Commando, they got 17 defense, so 17 cost. They don't cost that much, but they have 40 HP. Really nice defense of 17. 6 attack, which is fine, and then 10 damage. And you're looking at just a whole host of bags here. So bags of tricks. You got Cunning, and Deadly, and Deadeye, and Double. So this guy could be like, okay, I'm just going to chill, and I'm going to do 10 attack and then 30 damage per hit. For a 17, that's really nice, and have kind of that flexibility. If it makes sense, you could always throw a grenade to 20, so that's very versatile as well. It's nice to have that there. Can blow up doors. This guy has stealth, so this guy's just got so many bags of tricks up his sleeve. Oh my gosh. So overall, I think these things are awesome. And my whole score kind of alludes to that. Their HP is fine for a 17, pretty average, but the range survivability is great because they have the stealth, and then you can give them super stealth easy enough. They don't have good melee survivability, of course, but they have, attack that's good. It's good enough, especially once you get Cunning attack into play. Fun thing, if we mix these with Thrawn, then you're looking at having Cunning and Opportunist, so you just by default always have your bonus, which is good. Really easy to do that, kind of fun. You're looking at exceptional special abilities, just across the board, fantastic kit of things to do. The versatility, again, is in there. Fantastic things, you can do all sorts of stuff, lots of things you can do. Lots of the blowing up doors. You can kill groups of guys. You have options for shooting people. Fantastic. And then overall, I gave him the top score for Empire. I gave him a 5. I think these things are just so fun, and there's a reason why they're really sought after. They're really expensive. Each one's 34. I think I have 2 of these guys. So if you want to get more of them, it's tricky to do, but these things are just awesome. Awesome. And you can't argue with how sick their pose is. Really cool. So, okay, let's get into this final ranking here. Let's see how these things all stack up. So, in last place, we got I'm going to do the space bar. Nope, I need to select on this. In last place, we got the Star Destroyer Officer. Then we're looking at Death Star Trooper and Imperial Navy Trooper. So I'm really not surprised about these things at all. They're really terrible. And then we're looking at the Dark Trooper Phase 1. No good. E-Web Blaster. Kind of a meme, but at least it does a lot of damage. You're looking at the Heavy Stormtrooper next. And then after that Heavy Stormtrooper, we're taking a look at the Sandtrooper on Dewback. And then the Snowtrooper. Sandtrooper after that. So I do like the Sandtrooper just a little bit more because the damage. Dark Trooper Phase 2. So Dark Trooper Phase 2, kind of a nice, just you get what you get, and it's not bad. Finally, moving on after that, you get Elite Stormtrooper. Maybe a little bit high for them, but like they have nice stats. They're fine. The Stormtrooper Commander and the Stormtrooper Officer, kind of 1A, 1B. Not bad. They're fine. The Scout Trooper, kind of still around there. Stormtrooper Officer. Ooh, yeah, no, Sandtrooper Officer was down there. Not as big a fan. Stormtrooper Officer, kind of still the same area as well. The Elite Snowtrooper, I do like, when it comes to all these different, like, regular troopers, they're one of my favorite Elite versions, at least. I like to have that 30 defense. Feels like they have a little more staying power. Dark Trooper Phase 3, that fun missile platform. The traditional Dark Trooper, the jetpack, a lot of fun. Really, even though it has heavy, it's really good. Snowtrooper Commander, I like how cheap it is, and it makes these Snowtroopers really accurate. Evo Trooper is pretty good. And then Raxus Prime Trooper. Looks like they did that. No, that looks good. Raxus Prime Trooper, I like how cheap it is. A nice kind of substitute for the Stormtrooper as a grunt. Shadow Stormtrooper, that's pretty good. The traditional Stormtrooper, an awesome grunt. Nice defense for how cheap it is. And then I know this doesn't follow what Blue Milk says, but the Stormtrooper and Repulsor Sled, like, I just don't get it. I mean, great. It has so many great things about it. It doesn't cost that much. Got great survivability. Has nice tools to like kind of help your squad out. I just thought it was really cool. I don't know. I was a fan, but whatever. And when I did my math and all this stuff put together, it was really favorable. So then the 501st Legion Stormtrooper, basically an Elite Stormtrooper with a bunch of extra bells and whistles. Shock Trooper next. Epic Missiles. Felusion Stormtrooper Officer, I just think this guy makes all of these guys better. And then the Storm Commando for sure, and final place, just really fantastic. Technically, it's not a trooper, but I want to just kind of mix it in there anyways. I know when I did my Clone Trooper one, I didn't include commanders. I figured this time around, I just include non-unique commanders and throw them in. So maybe at some point, I'll have to go back and revisit the Republic one, and I'll do a video just for the non-unique commanders. So I'll probably do something like this moving forward with the other factions as well. Just do the commanders and mix them in. So anyways, I'm just going to kind of go to both of these screens, so feel free to stop it and pause. If you're looking at this on a small screen, it'll probably be really hard to see, unfortunately, unless you zoom in. But here's just kind of my matrix that breaks down all the scores compared to each other. As you can see, the survivability is nice on all these because they tend to have just crazy high defense for what they do. And they all have different options, different things across the board. I think, like I've mentioned before, the regular Stormtrooper is a great grunt. Raxus Prime Trooper is a nice kind of alternate. I like the Elite Snowtrooper with their commander, and then like Imperial Commander, Vader. Nice defense, and they could have some really good attack as well. Shock Troopers are awesome. Storm Commanders. So I don't think there's too much you can go wrong with. I think you do go wrong when you go with things like, the Dark Trooper droids, and then the Imperial kind of alternate troopers, Navy, Star Destroyer. Those aren't that good. So that's kind of where I see it. So I'll leave that there. Feel free to go back to either of these if you want to. Take a look at them. But that's going to do it. There's 28 total characters in this. If I missed anything, let me know. But definitely, as always, I'd love you guys to keep definitely subscribe if you haven't. And absolutely just comment. Love to hear what you guys think about the Imperial Troopers. Which ones are your favorite? What are some fun squads you guys can do? And then finally, is there anything I missed? Are there certain characters in here that maybe I over or undervalued? I'd love to hear about it. So anyways, I'll leave it there. Until next time, have a good one.